Alright guys, Rich here from the RCNetwork.com, and today we're going to be doing a quick little tutorial video. Now in the foreground you have the Axial Yeti Score trophy truck, the 1/10 scale, and this has been a really fun rig until this point. I had planned on replacing the wheels and tires. These are the stockers right here. Actually, this is the spare tire, and it runs a little bit different tire on this. Now, of course, it is a ShortCourse wheel, so 2.2 inch in diameter by 3 inch in the rear, just to give you that extra wheel hub clearance. So standard ShortCourse wheel, but it is not a standard ShortCourse tire. A little bit taller and also narrower to fit in the wheel wells of that trophy truck body. So right here is a look at a standard 2.2 inch Yeti wheel and tire. Now this is of course off my 2.0 version and a little bit wider than the stock, definitely taller. This is a standard 2.2 inch wheel and tire combo, so it's stretching at right over 5 inches in length. And to be honest, this thing was just absolutely ginormous on the trophy truck, let alone having to clear the body. So just a little bit too wide of a tire. Now of course the stock one right here was perfect, and I had planned to run these Proline ShortCourse wheels and tires. Now these are a great scale looking tire and wheel, but they're a lot smaller, and as you can see right here, they're a lot smaller, so I couldn't really run those. It would be like, you know, putting really tiny wheels and tires on this Score Yeti truck. So in this video I'm going to show you how to do a custom set of 2.2 inch aluminum wheels stretched onto a 1.9 inch tire. So alright, so quick look at some of the players in this episode. So the first thing here are the Crawler Innovations Deuces Wild Foams, closed cell foam, hand pretty much scraped there, and looks great overall. These are great if you're running a fast rig with serious brushless power. So that is the first player. Right here are the PitBull growler tires. These things have a great tread pattern, especially for the trophy truck. So super tacky, and these are definitely soft. So I assume that they're probably gonna wear out pretty quick, but we'll have to test that out. Once again, this was not actually meant for the trophy truck, so we're gonna have to kind of test this out as we go. So, but keep in mind 1.9 right here, 1.9 on those Crawler Innovations. Now, the star of the show are the Vanquish Bully KMC wheels and tires. These things are nice. Look at that. These things are just super nice. So 2.2 inch wheel once again, and we're going to stretch that onto those 1.9 tires and foams. Huge cans. I mean, take a look how wide these cans are here. I mean, in comparison to the old stock Vanquish, this is off the Method 101s. I mean, this is just a huge difference. So 1 inch can right here, I think it makes a 1.2 inch wheel. This is a 0.75 inch can, and that made like barely a 1 inch wheel. So should be a huge difference, especially in the width here. So very nice overall. And of course the Vanquish kit comes with all of the needed hardware, the rings, everything in one bag. You just need to supply your own SLW hubs to get the correct offset. So I'm going to be using 225s on this whole rig, but keep in mind I'm running a little bit different setup than a stock Axial Score trophy truck. Alright, so the first step in getting these things to work correctly, right here we have a 2.2 inch can, and of course that's not going to fit in that 1.9 inch foam. So we do need to modify the foam to get that to fit. I'm sure there's one out there that makes it. I'm not sure where, but I'm going to go ahead and modify these, and I think it'll work out good. Make sure you have a really sharp Xacto blade. It just makes cutting the closed cell foam a lot easier. Now, you can go ahead and mark this with a Sharpie if you want, but I kind of already know exactly where I want, and it kind of fits right in that groove there, so it should be pretty easy to do. So I'm going to go ahead and cut this thing out now, and I just make one pass going all the way around, and then I flip it over to the other side and make one more pass, and that cuts it all the way through. Alright, so went ahead and cut it all the way through on both sides, and we have kind of emerging here this extra little piece. You won't need that in the future. You can toss that aside, but now you have a 1.9 inch foam that has been modified to fit a 2.2-inch can, and this thing will now slip in there nice and snug. So that's exactly what you want on that foam. All right, so the next step is going to be fitting this closed cell into the growler, and it's actually pretty tough. I mean, you have to really kind of stretch this thing open to get that thing to fit in there, but let's go ahead and give it a shot. Just to give you an idea of the size difference, I mean, look at that. Quite a bit of size difference, but once you get the can in there and you have this rim on there, it's going to look really nice in the end. So let's go ahead and get that foam inside of there. So once you have this thing all kind of seated in there, you just want to make sure it's all free and loose in there and there's no binding at all on the tire. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out some of these little pieces of tire just kind of hanging out, get that all free and clear. And the next step is finally going ahead and put the center ring inside of the tire. And that is once again a balancing act of stretching rubber and getting it inside of there. All right, so once you have that inside there, you just want to make sure everything is centered and you have the same amount of tire on either side. You want to make sure everything's balanced, nice and neat, and that's it. So assembling the Vanquish wheels are pretty easy. Now that I have my center ring inside the tire, you want to go ahead and first mount the beadlock ring onto the front portion of the wheel, and that gets attached by, I don't know, 1,000 tiny little screws using just a 1/16 inch driver. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Make sure you're using Loctite for each and every single one of those screws because they will back out on the trail, especially with a fast rig. I usually like to just go ahead and take this, drop a good dime size deal on there. That'll do one wheel and get screw turning. All right, so went ahead and got all of the 96 screws practically installed on the beadlock ring there on the KMC Bully wheel, and it just looks so good. Now, I think there's lots of different colors available of these Bully wheels. I think you can get all black, you can get black insert with a silver ring. So, and I'm sure they're gonna have custom colors out here soon too. So now it's gonna be the very, very tricky portion of this install, and that is actually stretching that 1.9 inch rubber around this 2.2 inch insert. Now you do have to keep in mind that you have to get that bead in there perfectly, and it is pretty easy once you do that. Now keep in mind on the growlers, they are directional, so I've already got a couple built up, so I just want to make sure that I have the direction going so you don't have to uninstall and reinstall again, so keep that in mind. So now just stretching it on, I usually kind of just get it started in here and then just start stretching the rubber actually around the rim to make sure everything just gets seated correctly. So you can kind of start to feel, especially when you get a couple of these under your belt. Now the first one I did, I actually had to go back and make sure that it was all seated in correctly, because if you don't have it seated correctly, they will not be balanced, which is a bad thing on a fast rig. So keep that in mind. As you're doing this, take all your time doing this. This is like painting. You don't want to rush it. You want to make sure that you have a very good seed. Now, once you get that centered, or at least is halfway centered, flip it over to the other side and see if you're correct. And I'm pretty good there. So it's starting to fit into the actual ring, and it'll start to capture the bead here in a second. So, and then just make sure, double check everything. Make sure you got a good seed on the bead. Everything is even all the way around. It's pretty easy actually to get that in there. Now probably the hardest part of this build is to get that very deep ring kind of set into this and line up the 5-star pattern there as well. So once again, this is just a matter of squeezing and making sure this thing goes all the way in and keeping it as close to that as possible, because it's rubber and it won't like to move once it's inside there. Alright, so now we're ready to go ahead and screw this in and lock it all down. So now with a 3/32 driver, we're going to go ahead and use the larger screws in the kit. And of course, Loctite and get these things set in here and go ahead and seed everything in together. A little bit at first and then move your way through the screws in a star pattern, just like you would on a real 1-to-1 truck. Alright, well there you have it. Went ahead and stretched a 1.9-inch tire and foam onto a 2.2-inch wheel. I think it looks pretty good. You got a little bit of width there now on the tire as well, and just a great overall feel. The foam feels good inside there, and I think this is going to be a great fit for the Axial Yeti Score Trophy truck. Size-wise, it's almost identical to the stocker. Right here we have the stock one, and you can see there, a little bit wider, which is good. And of course your SLWs are going to be adjusted for the right offset that you're looking for. I'm running 225s on all 4 points now, but keep in mind I am running a fully modified rear axle and my front setup is definitely not stock. So, well guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little video here of how you stretch 1.9-inch tires onto some 2.2-inch rims. I think it worked out pretty good. Can't wait to get this on my Yeti and show you guys what it looks like in a future episode, so stay tuned. Well guys, that's it for now. Please feel free to check out my other social media platforms, of course Facebook and Instagram, and my all-new website, the RCNetwork.com, where you can get up-to-the-minute footage of what I'm doing here at the RCNetwork.com and be a part of all the fun. Well guys, that's it for now. Over now.